Today, I'm going to show you how to prep an entire month of breakfasts and lunches for you and your significant other in less than 5 hours. In 2023, I fell in love with meal prep, but in early 2024, I got really sick with the flu and then I had an ear infection and I was basically down for the count for an entire month. And this meant a lot of convenience foods for my family. The meal prep train was basically at a standstill. And when I felt better, I basically started to dread meal prep because it was taking up a lot of my weeks, my Sundays with my kids, the time I wanted to spend with them. But I really couldn't quit doing it because I know that meal prep saves my family roughly $8,000 a year. If my husband and I both went out for breakfast and lunch each day, that's $20 a day times 5 days a week times 52 weeks a year. That's $10,400. And meal prep only costs about $50 a week, so that's almost $8,000 in savings. I am totally okay with rounding up in this situation. So if the money was there, I had to question the time, and that's where I came up with the 1 month in 1 day method for busy parents like you and like me. We need to save time and save money on our food. It has been a true blessing. I've had more time with my kids. I've had less stress. I only need to shop for our meal prep once a month instead of once a week. So it makes my meal planning and shopping much easier. It has been a game changer. Last month's meal prep took me about 6 hours and I really wanted to streamline things and make things even faster this time. And I'm super happy to report that I got it down to 4 hours and 15 minutes. So today I'm going to show you everything that I made in my 1 month and 1 day meal prep this month. I have also designed a guide for you that is free to download in the description box that shows you exactly the step-by-step process on how to design your own 1 month and 1 day meal prep. And if you're going to be interested in this specific prep, especially after you watch the video, all of the recipes are inside my blog. But if you want a more streamlined process, I've also designed a for purchase guide for you that includes tips and tricks. You have pre-made worksheets in that, as well as a Walmart linked grocery list and a downloadable and printable grocery list, an equipment list, and all of the recipes that you can just print out or keep on your phone without having the hassle of going to the website and figuring out which ones to use. You can access this guide for a 50% discount if you're one of the first 50 people to download it. So I would recommend doing that. And if you're interested in doing more than one of these and you think you may want the volume 1 of the 1 month meal prep, that's from last month. And I'll make sure to put that video down in the description box for you too. You can actually purchase that for only 99 cents if you're one of the first 50 people that wants to get that as well. So seriously, don't miss out. This is truly life-changing and you deserve it.
So I did want to give you a quick rundown of what we're going to make today and how much it costs me. I usually do 4 breakfasts for myself and my husband. That's like 4 weeks worth of breakfasts. I do 2 weeks for the kids and then 4 weeks of lunches for myself and my husband and then 3 snacks for the family. So I started with my mom's zucchini bread for breakfast prep for the kids. I made blueberry muffins and harvest granola for snacks, egg bites for breakfast, sheet pan pancakes for the kids' breakfast, protein bagels for us for breakfast, egg roll bowls, taco bowls for lunches, hard-boiled eggs for a snack, buffalo chicken bowls also for lunch, Thai peanut chicken bowls for lunch, carrot cake overnight oats for breakfast, and carrot cake breakfast bars. And that's just like in the order that I worked on them. Well, the entire list for these items cost about $120. I was able to spend $115, and that included a delivery fee to make it easier. So this one was close. I needed like quite a few ingredients, but still such a savings compared to what I could have spent for an entire month. Sometimes I spend less, but I still really feel good avoiding the store and getting what I need. Back to the meal prepping process, I am just clearing my countertops off and making sure that everything is the best workspace that I can have. Basically, I want to make sure that everything is clear, that I have a lot of space for myself to work, that my dishes are clear from the sink. And then I'm just grabbing all of my ingredients. I like to put everything out on the counter that I can. Some things I'll keep in the fridge, like chicken or milk or something, like if I know it's going to be cooked a little bit later. But for the most part, it really helps to have everything in one place. And it's a lot of food. It takes up like half my counter, but that best feeling is when you're partway through your meal prep and the pile starts dwindling, as you're using stuff and putting stuff away, and you're really starting to feel accomplished, and you're like, I'm almost there, like I can do it. And then I have my trusty worksheets and recipes with me. And so if you're using Mastering Meal Prep, you can use the ones that you filled out yourself. And if you're using the Curated Volume 2, you'll have everything that you need right in front of you. So you're going to have all the list of everything you're going to be making, as well as your equipment list, your meal prep worksheet, and your meal prep schedule. And following that schedule is heavenly, just makes things so simple. So the first thing I'm making is this zucchini bread. This is my mom's recipe. I personally think it's the best. And I'm just slicing off the edges of the zucchinis. I got these on sale because you can see like they're not beautiful. They're kind of like a Misfits Market type thing. But it doesn't matter because we're grating them up anyway and they taste delicious. So sometimes you can take a look at that clearance produce section and find some stuff that is really good and worth the buy. And so you just need 3 like small to medium ones or 1 large one. Like if you had like a big one from your garden. This time of year, it's March, so I didn't have a big zucchini, but the 3 small ones were just perfect. So you want to crack in 3 eggs to a large bowl. You do want to make sure you have a decent sized bowl for this and give those a good mix, scramble them right up. And then to that, you're going to add in 2 cups of sugar. It's not a low sugar recipe, but this is one of those things that I'm trying to do as a different thing for the kids for breakfast. And then instead of oil in this, you can use 1 cup of oil, but I, for some reason, just didn't have any vegetable oil. And I tried 1 cup of applesauce, which before I've done like half in the past, and it turned out amazing. So I just did 1 cup of applesauce instead of the oil. And then when that was done, I just washed everything really quick. This is just a reminder to like keep washing as you go during a process like this. And then to that mix, you want to add in all of that zucchini and get that mixed really well. And then we're going to start adding our dry ingredients. I feel like with zucchini bread, it always reminds you of somebody. And of course, because this is my mom's recipe, it reminds me of her. But it's got to be somebody with a garden, right? Somebody who needed to use up their zucchini. And we're also going to add in vanilla. So 3 teaspoons of vanilla to that wet mixture. Comment below if you have also like a zucchini bread memory or somebody who always brings you zucchini bread. So for the dry ingredients, you want to add 3 cups of flour right to the top. And then right over the top of that flour, I'm adding in 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt as well. And you just want to give that a good mix kind of like on the top and then mix it in. So this is kind of a way of getting around using separate bowls, especially in a prep like this. You want to try and use as few bowls as possible. So this is kind of my little hack to still make your baking good, but not use so many bowls. So this recipe is also amazing because it makes 2 full loaves of zucchini bread, which is super nice. You can use one like the first week and then freeze one and keep it for maybe like the 4th week. So you don't have to eat things kind of in a row, and you can take things out here and there, especially when it comes to the lunches and the breakfast preps. Obviously, if you take out a whole loaf, that's the loaf. But you could always cut it in half too and do like half a loaf each week. Who knows? However you want to do it, make it your own. So I'm just going to spray down these loaf pans and then pour half of the mixture into each loaf pan. And I forgot to say, when you get started and you are cleaning up and getting everything out, you also want to preheat your oven to 325 degrees or, whatever temperature to whatever you're cooking. But in this case, it's 325 degrees for the zucchini bread. And then we're going to place this in the oven for an hour. So this is the longest thing it's going to take to cook. It does take a while, but it's worth it. Okay, so next we're going to get started on roasting some cauliflower for buffalo chicken bowls. And I just wanted to share this parchment paper with you. I just got this and it's like the perfect size for not a huge, like a large sheet pan, but more of a medium sized sheet pan. And it's just so awesome. It just goes flat, like right on. I love the other roll stuff is fine too. Like you can crumple it up and put it on, or you could spray the pan with cooking spray and then put it on. Although I don't like that method because then you're making your pan messy, which it's kind of defeats the purpose. I digress. So I should have had a larger container of cauliflower. I just have frozen cauliflower here. And I just had one small, so I was like, we're just going to live with it. We don't need a ton of cauliflower, but ideally you would have like double the size that I have. And then you're just going to pour about a tablespoon of olive oil over the top. a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and then just a sprinkle of salt and pepper. And we're going to bake those in that 325-degree oven for about 45 minutes. Alternatively, if you're making this without the meal prep, you could do it at 450 for 25 minutes. But I actually reset all of the temperatures so that I can cook something like this for longer and do it at the same time. So that's kind of a tip for if you're planning your own meal prep and you have different things that are going in the oven at different temperatures. You can cook something that's roasting like this at a lower temperature for a longer period of time, and you're going to get a similar result. So next up, in the essence of spring, we are making carrot cake breakfast bars, and you need 2.5 cups of rolled oats, and I'm just putting that into my NutriBullet, and I'm actually going to grind these not super fine. So I'm not making like a flour out of them, but I'm just lightly grinding them because I do not want them to be like the full size oats in these, because I kind of want them to be a little bit cakey, and we're not going to be adding any flour to these. And then right to that dry mixture in the NutriBullet, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I just shook this right up in the NutriBullet. But if you're using a food processor, you could kind of just mix it around in there too, or pour it into a separate bowl. Either way is fine. And then to a bowl, I'm just adding 1 egg, 1 cup of almond milk, or you can just use whatever your milk of preference is, and a 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. So when you have coconut oil, it comes like all congealed. Is that the right word? You just put it in a Pyrex and microwave for about 30 seconds, and it will melt right down, and it's perfect to add to your mixture. You also want to add 1/3 cup of maple syrup. And then I just gave that a good whisk, adding in that coconut oil. And then we're just going to pour in the dry ingredients and mix everything really well. And then I just grated up my carrots. You need about 1/2 cup of carrots for this, which is surprisingly just like 1 large carrot. It always seems like you're going to be using a lot more carrots than you do, but it does give a lot of flavor. So you just add that right in there, make sure that's well mixed, and then spray down a 8x8 baking dish. And the batter is not too thick, but it's not going to spread on its own. So you do need to kind of take a spatula and spread that out evenly. And then you're going to put that in the oven with everything else at 325 degrees. And we're going to bake that for 40 minutes. And while I was in there, this was a perfect opportunity to give the cauliflower a stir, because you do want to kind of mix that halfway through. And next up, we're making blueberry banana muffins. And I swear, I know this recipe so well. It's like the back of my hand. You would think I would know it that well, but I still always refer back to my recipe sheet, which luckily I always have. So I'm making 2 times the recipe. We're going to make 24 muffins. And I'm just using a bunch of freezer banana. So it's never like the most beautiful thing in the world. But when I have bananas that are either going bad or maybe they're half eaten by Ben, I make sure that I don't have any parts that have bites out of them or anything. But I just put them in a little freezer bag and I put them in the freezer, and that way I have them for times like this, and they're perfect for these muffins. So I have 6 bananas, and I'm just going to mash those up, and we're going to mix in 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 eggs, and then just give that a good mix until everything is really well mixed. And then we're going to add in our dry ingredients. You want to add 3 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to use the exact same method we used with the zucchini bread, where we kind of put everything on top and then give it a good mix and then kind of incorporate it in. And this will reduce our dishes. And these muffins still come out amazing every time I do this. So I'm telling you that it works. One of the reasons that I love this recipe, aside from the fact that it's just delicious, is that you don't need any butter or oil or milk or anything like that. You just mix those bananas in with the eggs, and it creates a pretty thick batter, but that's absolutely fine. It's exactly how it should be, and it still makes amazing muffins. So to the thick batter, you then want to add 2 cups of blueberries. I have fresh this time, but you can also use frozen. If you do use frozen, your muffins are going to be like a little purple. They turn quite blue, and it's fine because it gives it the same flavor. So whatever works for you. And then I'm using these really cute muffin cups today, but a lot of times I just spray down my muffin tin, so you can choose whatever you want to do. I'll always link everything that I'm using down in the description box for you, so you can easily access it. And if you are downloading the Meal Prep Volume 2 workbook that it goes with this, you can also get all the equipment links right in there. And then you want to fill these just about to the rim of the baking cup. about 2 tablespoons. I have a 1.5 tablespoon scoop, and I'm just thinking right now, I'm like, I should get a 2 tablespoon scoop because I'll put one in and then like half of another. So it makes a little bit more sense to do that. Either way, about 2 tablespoons full. You basically want to make an even 24. So whatever way you get that to work, do the even 24. And then at this time, everything was coming out of the oven as far as the cauliflower, the zucchini bread, and the carrot cake bars. Now, if you look at the schedule, the timing is actually a little bit different with me. And you have to know this if you're a mom and you're doing this like during the day. My kids were all home during the day at this time. So I was a little bit distracted and like timing got a little strange and a little bit off. Going to pop in here. So like consider that if you're a mom, you may want to start either early in the morning, which I've done before, or in the evening, maybe after they go to bed or after dinner time, so not bothering you as much. You're not like getting interrupted. If your kids are home during the day with you or even in the evening with you, you may get distracted, as you know, with many things every day, all the time. Just something to consider. Don't worry if you feel like you're off track. You can always adjust the timing on the schedule. So you want to bake those muffins at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. So you just want to turn the heat up on the oven. You can wait a couple minutes for that to heat up and then put them in if you need to. And then next up, we're going to make coconut oat granola. And this is an amazing, super clean recipe, but it is very healthy tasting. I have a protein granola recipe, and if I were to choose one of the two, I would actually go back to the protein granola. Although this is, like I said, it's very yummy and it's very healthy and good for you. Just of the two, I prefer the other one. So I'm going to give you this recipe, and it's going to be in the meal prep, but you're also going to get the option to do the protein granola. And so that's just a different option if you want to move in that direction. So for this one, you just want to mix 1/3 cup unsweetened applesauce with 3 tablespoons of flaxseed meal, 3 tablespoons of chia seeds, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a tablespoon of coconut oil you want melted, 2 teaspoons of orange zest. This is just the coconut oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You just want to mix all that together, and then we're going to mix in the dry ingredients, 3 cups of rolled oats and a 1/2 cup of pepitas, or I think they're like pumpkin seeds. And once that's all well mixed and everything's kind of covered, you just put that on a baking sheet that has parchment paper on it or any sort of liner on the baking sheet, and make sure that it's even, and then bake it at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes, and just make sure you stir it halfway through. And at this point, the blueberry banana muffins just had a few more minutes to go. So in the meantime, I'm mixing up my egg bites. I've made these over and over and over again, and they are still delicious every single time. I just kind of use whatever I have on hand to kind of wing it. I do love bacon in ours, but if you like sausage, you can do that too. I'm making up 2 different batches, so I want to do 24 total. My NutriBullet only fits 1 batch of 12, so I have to do it kind of twice, but I end up mixing it together and all works out fine. So we're doing 8 eggs in each batch with 1 cup of cottage cheese and some salt and pepper. I just give it a quick mix, and then I add in some spinach and just give it like a couple of goes with that, so that the spinach isn't like completely pulverized, but you can see like the little pieces in there, but it's also not the huge pieces of spinach. So just do that 2 times over to make the batch of 24. And if you have like 4 muffin pans, then you're more than welcome to just pour that right in there. I don't. I have 2. So that's why my timing is set up exactly so that the blueberry muffins kind of came out at the exact same time that the egg muffins were ready to go in. So I can pull these out, I can put them onto a baking rack, and at the same time I'm also giving the protein granola a nice mix because it's about halfway through. So like the timing is all set up just right so that it works out for me in my oven. And so when I pull those out, I can then put the egg bites into those muffin tins. So I did just let those cool off for a couple minutes before I put the egg bites in there. And so in that time period, I was just getting the dry ingredients ready for my sheet pan pancakes. So you need 2.5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then I set that aside and got started on kind of pouring the egg bite batter into the muffin tins. So you want to spray those down really well. You definitely want to make sure that they're not going to stick to the pans. And then you can pour in the batter and then put in some cheese and some bacon. Or like I said earlier, you could do some crumbled sausage. I just bought the pre-cooked bacon because it's just so much easier for something like this. I don't have to go ahead and cook it. Sometimes I cook it, sometimes I don't. But in this case, it worked out best to just use the pre-cooked stuff. And then you saw that the Harvest granola also came out with the muffins, so there's plenty of space in the oven to put these in, and these cook at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And then getting back on track with the sheet pan pancakes, to the dry ingredients, we're going to add 2 cups of milk, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, a tablespoon of vanilla, and mix that really well, and then spray down a baking sheet really well. Yet again, you don't want it to stick, and pour the batter over it. And then you can add whatever toppings you like. I was only doing 1 batch of these because we actually still had some of the blueberry ones. So I did half and half chocolate chip and half blueberry. And you could do, anything that you want to put in there, go ahead and do it. So like I said, my timing is a little bit different than it says on the schedule due to kids and whatnot interrupting, so it's really easy to adjust. But I took out my egg bites, and then I was going to get my my sheet pan pancakes into the oven, and I kind of committed a cardinal sin, but I think it was worth it. I just heated the oven up to 425 degrees once I put the pancakes in. It did make them a little bit browner on top, so maybe I don't recommend it. Maybe I should have waited the extra 5 minutes, but it didn't ruin them. They were still fine. So however you want to do it, because you definitely need to change that temperature up to 425 degrees from 350 degrees. And I forgot to mention, I also ended up having like a little bit of extra egg batter. I don't know why. So I ended up doing 6 more muffins in this teeny little muffin pan I had. So I did end up with more than 24, which was great. I don't know that it would exactly happen that way again. Sometimes just funky stuff happens, right? But that's me, changing the temperature, changing the time, and those are going to cook for 17 minutes. And we're going to cook up our protein bagels. So you need 6 eggs. For some reason here, I did 5. The protein bagels still turned out good, but I would do 6 because that's the recipe. I'm making blueberry ones. In the past, I had done some everything bagel ones where they're more savory. These are a little bit sweeter, so you can kind of mix and match with whatever you want. And if you end up purchasing the Meal Prep Volume 2 that goes along with this, you're going to get both recipes. So you get that bonus of the everything bagel recipe, and you're going to get the blueberry bagel recipe. To the eggs, add 1 1/3 a cup of water and 3 scoops of vanilla protein powder. And this is where you can kind of switch things up if you want to use plain protein powder, or you could even do like chocolate chip ones, and instead of blueberries, use chocolate chips. You can kind of switch things around here. And then 1/3 a cup of almond flour, or like 6 tablespoons, I think is what I did, because the like basic recipe for 6 of these is 3 tablespoons. And then again, 6 tablespoons of ground flaxseed meal, or 1/3 a cup, I think is the exact same. And then just give that all a good mix. And then we're going to use some either like bagel pans or donut pans, and spray those down really well. And I've made this mistake before. Put these on a sheet pan before you get started because they're silicone. And if you do it outside of that, then you try and move them and everything goes everywhere. So on the sheet pan, they go. And then pour them evenly, and then put your blueberries right on top. I think I had like about 1/2 cup of blueberries. You could use as many or as little as you want. Again, you could do like chocolate chips in these. You could do really any type of fruit that you have on hand. And this is very liquidy. And when these come out, they're very like egg-like. But once they cool off and you slice them and you toast them up, put a little cream cheese on them, they're actually really quite good. And if you do the more savory ones, those are really great for like a breakfast sandwich too. So it's just a really good, like super healthy option. And then you want to bake these at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. And I committed another sin here where I took these sheet pan pancakes out. They were in at 425 and I turned it down to 400. So we're kind of off by 25 degrees, but they worked out fine. So sometimes you don't have to worry about things too much. Don't stress yourself out over it. It'll all work out. And you can see how they're like they were a little bit darker on top. That's because I had preheated the oven from 350 to 425 while they were in, but they still tasted good, so it worked out fine for me. So that was actually the last thing that's going to go in the oven, and we're going to get started on some stovetop items. So we're making egg rolls in a bowl and some taco bowls. And for some reason, I only ended up with 1 pound of ground turkey, or you can use ground chicken for this, for the taco bowls, but I would recommend 2 pounds. I just ended up adding like more lettuce and stuff later to my taco bowls. And then over in the bigger pan over there, I do have a couple pounds of ground turkey to use for my egg roll bowls that I've made for years. These are super delicious. And kind of at the same time, like it took the full amount of time for these to come out, and I was still cooking that turkey just because there was so much going on. But I did want to show you what these bagels look like with the cream cheese on them and how delicious that they actually are. So the Walmart list that comes with the meal prep actually has you buying the festive taco turkey, so you don't have to worry about flavoring or seasoning the turkey. In my case, I just didn't have that, so I was just adding my own taco seasoning mix. You can always make your own too. So there's a lot of adjustments that you can make based on what you have, and just, try and save money by using what you already have on hand versus purchasing things you don't need. So just following the taco pack instruction to make some taco meat. And then for the egg roll bowls, the original recipe has you slicing onions and adding those, which is super delicious. I just didn't do it this time in the essence of time, so I just added a bunch of onion powder to mine instead. You can always do that, just depending on what you have, or just to save time and money. And then for this big batch of egg roll bowls, you want 8 cloves of minced garlic and 2 teaspoons of fresh grated ginger, or you can use powdered ginger if that's what you have. I always just buy a root and keep it in the freezer, and then it grates up really well, like better than it does if it's not frozen, so it's kind of a win-win. And then you want 4 cups of either shredded cabbage or coleslaw mix. I just bought this pre-made coleslaw mix. It was the perfect size. You just pour it all in there into this nice big pan and cook everything up. And then to that, you want to add a half a cup of soy sauce, 4 tablespoons of sesame oil, and 4 teaspoons of sugar. And that sugar actually does help with that flavor, kind of makes it more of a teriyaki, and it's quite delicious. And this doesn't take long. You just want to cook this for about 3 minutes until that cabbage is wilted down, and it's pretty much ready for your meal prep containers. Now, it's always nice to consider what you're doing the night before, or if you're like prepping for the week. The night before, I was actually making something with rice, so I decided to just cook up a huge batch of rice, which actually wasn't even as much as I wanted, but it worked out fine. It was the meal preps were just fine. Sometimes you don't need as much as you think you do. It's kind of scary how much we think we need to eat versus how much we actually need to eat. So I've got all my meal prep containers laid out here. We're going to put the egg roll in a bowl equally in these, and then also put about a 1/4 cup of rice in each one to kind of fill them out. Many times in the past, I've actually done no rice with these and added some extra cabbage to just make them like a low carb meal, and that's quite good too. And then I always like to serve them with more soy sauce and then some sriracha or some chili crunch. And how could I forget? It's also great to slice up some scallions over these and then put on a little bit of sesame seeds. I always like to make my meals like a little bit fancier by adding that, and it's super easy and it's super cheap to keep around. And for the next prep, we're getting started on chicken for the buffalo chicken bowls, which are kind of my fresh prep of the week. So they're going to be the thing we're going to eat first because they're not going to go in the freezer. And the Thai chicken bowls. These Thai peanut chicken bowls are unbelievable. But I figured I would cook all the chicken together at once to make it easier on me and then separate it after. So I'm using my massive 14-inch pan that I purchased after my first 1 month in 1 day meal prep, because I was like, I need a bigger pan, and this thing has been such a lifesaver. And you just want to season the chicken with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Season with your heart. Use a lot of it because it's going to give it a lot of flavor. And then we're going to get, while that's kind of cooking off to the side, stir it every now and then. I'm going to try and cook it all the way through. I'm going to slice up our peppers for the Thai peanut chicken bowls. You need about 3 bell peppers thinly sliced. You could also use frozen sliced peppers here. That would be another option to kind of save time and possibly money. And then we're going to actually heat up a pan on the other side of the oven with more olive oil and add the peppers to that pan. And then I just took half the chicken and added that chicken to the peppers and let that cook the rest of the way. And then to the other chicken, I just added in some buffalo sauce to let it cook inside of the buffalo sauce. And that way our chicken for the peanut bowls is cooking with the peppers and the buffalo chicken is cooking in the buffalo sauce. But we kind of utilized the time appropriately where I was cutting the peppers to actually partially cook some of the chicken. So kind of everything works out. And so while that chicken finishes cooking, again, keep stirring it, regularly, I started making the taco bowls. I've got 2 cans of refried beans, and I just divided that equally among 10 bowls. And these like meal prep containers are actually quite large, so it feels like it looks smaller than it is. If I had had like more of a reasonable size container, I think that it would have been better. And honestly, I would have liked smaller containers too, because I just use my own, bottom drawer freezer for all of this prep, and it does fit amazingly enough. And I even keep stuff in the top part for regular meals, so it works out. You don't have to worry about having like a chest freezer or anything like that. But having smaller containers is definitely more helpful when it comes to making space. So consider that when you buy your meal prep containers. And so these are fun. They're like a layered taco bowl. So it starts with refried beans, then rice, white rice. You could use more if you'd like to, but I like to just put a little bit in there. Then top it with the taco meat. And then top that with some shredded cheese, whatever your favorite is, whatever you have on hand. And then I used queso in this, which was super fun and super delicious. And then that's all you're going to add for the time being. But when you serve it, you want to have some fresh lettuce on hand, and maybe some pico de gallo, maybe some fresh avocado. And it really makes it like a more fresher meal. But these are just things that you can just kind of add day of and keep the rest of it in the freezer until you're ready. So we're kind of winding down here, which is amazing. So the next thing we're going to do is make some hard-boiled eggs. And I do tend to do this weekly because we just like hard-boiled eggs and it's super easy. Unfortunately, you just can't make the eggs ahead of time. And I just do them in my steamer. So I place them all in the steamer basket. I put water in the bottom of the steamer. It's actually a rice cooker. I set it to the steam setting for 14 minutes. When the little beepy thing goes off and the 14 minutes shows up, that means that the water's preheated. I pop them in there, and then they come out after the 14 minutes is up, and I ice bath them. But while that water is preheating, we're going to get the buffalo chicken bowls ready to go. And I'm just going to start with some lettuce. You could also use arugula in the bottom. I had actually purchased some arugula and then it went bad, so I just ended up using spring mix because I don't know, for some reason it lasted longer. So that's what we're going to go with. So you can use whatever type of lettuce you want to use in the bottom of these. And then you can also use some rice. I did not end up using rice, but you could also add rice to the bowl and make it even more kind of heavier, robust. And then I had another bag of the coleslaw mix. And this was actually perfect for this because it gave this such a nice, fresh, crisp crunch to it. It's almost like an alternative to a crouton in that way, but obviously a lot healthier. So it was really, really perfect in this. And then if you remember way back in the beginning, we roasted that cauliflower and that's all cooled off now, which is perfect to add to these bowls. And yes, I wish I had more, but you know what? It's absolutely fine. Don't be hard on yourself if you don't have every single ingredient. Like, it's not going to ruin the bowls. The bowls were so good and it would have tasted great with or without the extra cauliflower. So it is what it is. We just enjoy what we have, right? We get what we get. We don't get upset, as I tell my kids. And then the chicken was ready, which was perfect. So I just added that to the bowls. And it's nice because it has that buffalo flavor on it. But I also do recommend that when you serve it, you put some fresh buffalo sauce on it and some fresh ranch dressing. And that makes it really delicious. And then the last addition before closing these up is some crumbled blue cheese. You could also use like shredded cheddar if you prefer that to blue cheese. But I love blue cheese with buffalo. And then this is what it looked like once I served it for lunch, and just beautiful, honestly, and super delicious. Timing was just perfect because the chicken and peppers were all set and the timer went off for my eggs. So it was actually time to put those in. So I plopped those in and then got started on the Thai peanut chicken bowls. Maybe my favorite prep from this whole thing. My husband kept asking me, like, are there any more of those in the freezer? I'm like, we have some other stuff, but we ate those first because they were just so addicting. So to assemble these bowls, you want to do rice and then evenly distribute the chicken. And then for some reason, I lost the footage of making this sauce, which is basically the most heavenly part of the whole thing. You want a half a cup of peanut butter, a half a cup of soy sauce, 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, 4 tablespoons of honey, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. So things you probably already have on hand. And you're going to mix it together well. And it's going to be pretty watery. But what happens when you cook this and when you like microwave it is it actually gets much thicker. And it really coats the chicken and the rice really, really well. I mean, the flavor in the sauce is absolutely phenomenal. And these are just incredibly good. And it's nice because you don't have to do anything with the sauce. Like, you just mix it and pour it over. And they freeze super well. And when you microwave them, they are as good as they were the day I made them. And I'm a little behind the times, but I should have added a half a cup of unsweetened shredded coconut to the granola when it came out of the oven. So I added it after, and that was fine. And next up, we're going to make some carrot cake overnight oats. I'm just going to make them into one big container, and then we're going to serve them separately each day. You could also kind of mix everything together and then separate them out into containers depending on what you have on hand. So your choice on how you want to do that. So the carrot cake overnight oats, you do need 2 cups of shredded carrots. So just got started by shredding up my carrots. And then 2 1/3 cups of rolled oats or old-fashioned oats. And you'll see here, Julian, my 6-year-old, decided to get involved. So he was kind of helping me mix everything. And then to that, add 4 1/2 cups of vanilla yogurt, 2 1/3 cups of unsweetened vanilla almond milk, 10 tablespoons of raisins, 1 1/2 tablespoons of cinnamon, 10 tablespoons of crushed pineapple, 5 tablespoons of chia seeds, 5 tablespoons of ground flax seeds, and 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. And don't worry, all this stuff is on my blog down in the description box. And then if you want the printable recipes and everything is the ebook, and you're going to get a deal. So if you want to order this month's ebook, you can get last month's ebook, last month's 1 month and 1 day volume 1 meal prep for just 99 cents. So it's kind of a steal. So you want to check that out. And I'm only going to be doing that for the first 50 purchasers. So you're going to want to get it quickly before that runs out. And then just mix everything together well. It doesn't look beautiful, but I promise you it does taste like carrot cake, and it will look beautiful when you serve it. So this is one of those things, just like the buffalo chicken bowls, you want to eat in the first week because it doesn't really freeze well, and we're going to eat it fresh. So once you serve it, you have the option to put some vanilla yogurt on top, a little bit of more shredded carrots just to make it look pretty, and some nuts. And this is absolutely delicious. It feels like dessert. You could have it for dessert if you wanted to, but it's a perfect breakfast as well. And then before putting everything away, we just need to frost the carrot cake breakfast bars, and these do actually freeze really well. So I don't know where the footage went, but to make the cream cheese frosting, you just want to use a hand mixer or a bowl mixer to mix a half a cup of cream cheese with 1 tablespoon of maple syrup and a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're just going to frost it like a cake and slice it up. And you can actually roll these in some, what is it called? Not parchment paper, wax paper, and then put them individually inside of a freezer bag in the freezer, and then take them out when you need them, as many or as little as you'd like, just to the refrigerator to defrost. And these are heavenly. They taste like dessert, but they are healthy enough for breakfast, so it's amazing. And then I tried to get like a picture of myself like I did last time in front of the prep, and I didn't get it right, and I thought I did, but it didn't, so oh well. We were just playing around here. This is everything as it was prepped, and then you just need to put everything away in the freezer. Some tips I do have for freezing is to, yes, try and find as small containers as possible. The square ones work really well for just a regular drawer freezer, and you do want to try and label things as much as possible so that you know what everything is and when it went into your freezer, so it doesn't get lost in there, because you don't have to have everything every single week succinctly. This can actually last you 2 months if you're good at prepping otherwise, or you have a lot of leftovers. But overall, everything was delicious. You can get all of the information in the blog, and don't forget about that sale. If you grab the volume 2 prep from this video, you can get volume 1 prep for 99 cents. And that's only for the first 50 purchasers.